Welcome to the Women in Business radio show with Sian Murphy, connecting women in business around the globe.
Hello and welcome into the Women in Business Radio Show studio. We are going to be talking for the next hour about starting a business over 50, and I guess it's going to be about women starting a business over 50. So let me introduce my co-host, Adelle.
Hi.
Say hello, Adelle.
Hello.
Also in the studio we have... I like to order people around. What can I say? What's the point of pretending it's otherwise? Also in the studio we have Jackie Groundswell from 12:30 The Women's Company.
Hello.
A little over 50 herself, as am I, as is Adelle. And also in the studio with us we have Debbie Lloyd Smith, who is the founder of DLS Candles. Welcome, Debbie.
Hello.
And Debbie started her business during lockdown. So not only does it fit into actually sort of being in that age group. When I say after 50, do you know, it doesn't have to be like, you know, you sort of like your 51st birthday arrives and you start your business. You know, we're talking really sort of between 40 and 80. It doesn't really matter. It's just in that part of your life, as opposed to being a young, bright thing entrepreneur. I think it's sort of, you know, you've had a career, you've had kids, whatever, you've got to a slightly different point in your life, and you start
do your own thing,
and you start doing something a little bit different. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to start off actually. I want to go over to Jackie and talk to her about... Partly, I want to do a plug for the Women in Business Big Show, which is on August the 25th. It's in the UK. It's at Longfield Academy in Kent, which is a super venue. It's a big building. It's not a church hall. It's a big building. It's very close to Ebbsfleet, so it's about 15 minutes from London. And it brings together women from really all walks of life. So we have, what I wanted to do when I set this up is to bring together women who may be running very small businesses off their kitchen table. It may be that they've turned a craft or a hobby into a business, alongside the professional services. So people like accountants, solicitors, lawyers, HR people, and bring everybody together, because, you know, if you're a lawyer, you still need stuff. You know, you need fun stuff. You need to look good, feel good. You need to grow your business. You need confidence. And Adelle's going to be there. So Adelle, who is, I'm going to just call her a menopause expert, a lot of exercise, that sort of thing. A lot of stuff I don't do. I do a lot of menopause, actually. In fact, I could be... Jackie's the queen of networking. I could be the queen of menopause. I'm
your co-host.
I do a lot of that. No HRT, ladies. I can't have HRT. So I'm doing it like without a filter. Okay. So if ever you see me snarling or in a heap on the floor, that's why. Yeah. So Adelle's going to be there and talking about... I should have written it down.
I've got two. I'm doing how to be strong in 10 minutes a day, and then I'm going to do the VIP talk for you as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I'm sponsoring as well.
Yeah. So she's got to... I don't need anybody else there. I've just got Adelle. She's got two stands. She's sponsoring. Debbie is exhibiting, and it's like the Sian show. It is the Sian show. It is the Sian show. What am I saying? Silly me. It's the menopause. So Adelle's doing that. We have also Jackie there, who is going to be running our networking session for us, and also talking about 60 seconds. I'm not sure if she knows this yet.
She knows now.
I'm not sure if I
do.
I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not. So she's going to be running a speed networking session, which I have to say, folks, if ever you're running a speed networking session, you are not going to see me there. I think it's absolutely ghastly.
Well, thanks for that.
But that actually,
it's acoustics for you, isn't it?
It is. I can't hear very well. However, it is a really valuable thing to do, and it's a really valuable skill to learn. And if you can if you can start to like speed networking, so we're not talking about normal networking here, we're talking about speed networking.
Well, you're also talking about 12:30 speed networking, because I think I haven't come across anybody else who does it in the way that we do it. You mentioned the session about the networking with me session, which is about getting the most out of your networking time, and we work towards a 60-second introduction for each person that's there. With the speed networking, you get 30 seconds. And that doesn't mean that you talk as fast and shove everything that you've learned during that period of time into that. It really does focus you on what the message is that you want to get to the other person.
And this is why I'm saying I think it's an excellent skill, is because if you're meeting somebody, you really, they talk about an elevator pitch of being 60 seconds. But when you meet somebody, and it could be in the street, or it could actually be in the elevator, or you're at a networking meeting, or you've gone out somewhere, and somebody says, "Well, what do you do?" Actually, 30 seconds is a really, really long time.
It is. And I think also, I try to encourage people to say, "Tell me about you." Not tell me what you do. So, for example, my background's IT training. So if I said, I'm an IT trainer, you'd probably go, oh, yeah, right, okay. Then.
One of them.
Yeah. But if I said to you, I can make your day much more exciting using a computer, and I can save you time and give you a few tips or things, you might be a bit more encouraged. In the same with an accountant. Now, we all love our accountants dearly. But if they stood up and said, I am an accountant, again, unless it was end of year, you'd go, oh, yeah, all right then. But if they also said, I can save you some money.
I tell you what they must not say, because I will ask them to leave the room. I'm an accountant, but I'm not like other accountants.
Yeah.
I'm different to all the other accountants.
Oh, gosh. And do they? Do they?
Every single... If you're an accountant and you're listening in, all right, you are different. Okay, everybody's different. You are different to everybody else.
Unique,
but please find something else to say at a networking meeting than I'm an accountant, but I'm different to everybody else.
Yeah. If I can touch very quickly on what our suggestion is of an introduction, is to actually start off with your name and your company name and end with your name and your company name. And when you do that, again, this is where the business card or flyer might come in, that you hold this up to emphasise your branding as well. And the bits in the middle obviously will vary depending on who you're with and what you're doing. And I think a very good, fun, strong 1 minute that I experienced was a chap who stood up and didn't say a word. Total silence, and everybody was nudging each other and saying, is he okay? What's going on? And towards the end of his time, he said, if you want to find out about me, I'll be over in that corner and I'll tell you. And of course, everybody roared with laughter, and he was swamped. But you can't do that every time, and that's the difference.
Yes.
You can't do the same thing constantly. And I think, although I've made the suggestion of the introduction of your name and company name, end with your name and company name, I also think it's quite a good one to throw out a question first before you actually do that. So, maybe, Debbie, with you, does anybody really need to relax well in the bath? So somebody will say yes, they do. Somebody, not you lot.
Sorry, potty brain here.
Sorry. I thought as I said that, I thought maybe that's not the right phrase. But somebody will say yes, and you can say, okay, and then perhaps do your introduction or whatever. But a question first is not a bad idea. A travel counsellor could say, anybody had an arranged holiday that was a total disaster? There'll be somebody. But, so that's what I'll be doing at the show. Showing you how to do it, giving you the opportunity to form your introduction, and then, fast and furious, network with me.
I think the reason I like this, and part of the reason for setting up the event with bringing together women in business from all walks of life, and this event is also supported, co-branded by the FSB, which is the Federation of Small Businesses in the UK. And the people that very often you envisage being a member of the Federation of Small Businesses are what I'd call serious businesses. The thing is that when we bring together all of these women in business from all walks of life, what you realise is that a lot of the advice is actually exactly the same. Writing a business plan, it doesn't have to be stuffy. It can apply to you if you're putting flip-flops on, if you're putting flowers on flip-flops, as well as if you are running a full-blown accountancy business. The business plan concept, or how you go about planning your business, and how you go about networking, and how you approach it, and what it means for you, can be exactly the same. You may need to have a slightly different approach. You may need to be in a slightly different place as well. But at least I think the advice holds across the board. The other thing about the Women in Business Big Show is that although it doesn't say this, so there is nowhere where you're really going to say, hey, this is for women over 40. It is for women over 40. There's no creche. You can bring a child if you must. We've got a cupboard under the stairs where
and a 6-inch nail for a foot.
where we're going to put them. No, you can. It is inclusive. Anybody can come along. Anybody is welcome. And that includes men as well. I'm often asked about men. Well, we work with men. I'm married to a man. My business partner is a man. And I work with men as well. That's it.
And men, surprisingly, sometimes know women.
Yeah, they do. So this isn't, men are welcome, men are speaking. It's not about being just exclusively a woman and being in this silo of feminineness and sort of hormones. It's inclusive. It includes everybody. But when you look at who's speaking, what they're speaking about, and the fact that there isn't a creche and there isn't this and there isn't that, you can see that it's targeted at women over 40.
Yeah.
So that's very much where we're going. And I wish I could remember what my point was.
And I think the most important thing is that it's about business.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it is. You don't have to already be in business to come along. You could be thinking of starting a business. And that's where we're getting to here. It is so this is about starting a business, we say after 50, because we have to have a title. We have to have a title that we put on the show. So that's the title. So everybody here over 50 started a business towards that point in their life. Debbie, we're just going to sort of bring you in here and chat with you because you started your business quite recently, didn't you? So can you tell us a little bit about what you do and why you started?
Yeah, sure. I started my business last year during the lockdown. I tried my hands at many things. I did online floristry course. I got more into the garden. I started making soap. So I did a variety of things. And eventually I thought, I'll try making candles. I mean, I love candles. I'm always buying candles. And I thought, I'll just have a look on the internet, on YouTube. And that's how it all began, really. And then I started to buy all my equipment that I needed. I set myself a little budget of how much I wanted to spend. I bought the candle wax. I decided to go down the route of soya candles, really because it's clean burning, longer burning, and very good for the environment, and it's non-toxic. So that's why I've chosen soya wax. There is a variety of candle waxes out there, coconut wax, beeswax, palm wax, vegetable wax, but as I said, I chose soya wax, and I chose my scents. I started off with one scent, which was the Velvet Rose and Oud, and it smelled absolutely gorgeous. It reminded me of the garden. So I started off with the velvet rose and oud, and I started to make small candles initially, the 9cl small candles, and I gifted the candles to friends and family. I mean, to begin with, I thought they were absolutely rubbish, but my friends were honest with me, and they said...
So at this point where you're gifting them to people...
Yes.
Had you made the decision that it was going to be a business, or was it just something that you thought, what can I do? I need something to sort of keep me a bit amused while I'm stuck here. So did you start making candles, give them as gifts, because there's only so many you can keep, really, isn't there?
Yes,
Start giving them as gifts, and then people started saying, hey, this is really, really nice. And then you said, oh, I wonder if I can make a business out of this.
Yeah.
Or did you sit at the other side of it and go, what can I do? I want to start a business. I'll make candles. Which one was it?
I gifted the candles, and then I had friends coming back to me saying they were lovely, they smelled lovely. And then I thought maybe I could start a business here. So that's how it started for me. And as I progressed through, my candles got better. They looked better. And I had a cousin, actually, that I'd sent one of my candles to, and her son was getting married last year. And she phoned me up and she said, Debbie, I'd like to order some candles from you. And I thought she was just going to order maybe 10, 15. And she said, can I have 80 candles? So that was my first sort of big sale. And I said to her, my husband, my gosh, I've got this big order of, 80 candles to make for this wedding. And I, that really...
Could you clear off the dining room table?
Yeah.
Could you go over there in the corner, please?
Yeah.
We haven't got room for you anymore.
I mean, I'm always in trouble with my 13-year-old son. He's always saying, Mum, this is a breakfast area. Would you move those candles? I'm working from home. It's from my kitchen.
Well, they have to get over it, don't they? It's a fact of life, isn't it? We have businesses to run. If you don't like it, okay. Yeah. Oh, dear.
There's a tent in the garden.
At that time, I didn't really have a logo. I don't even know what. I just put Debbie Lloyd Smith Candles on my logo, and then my son stepped in and he said, Mum, that doesn't look right. I said, okay, fine. So he designed a wonderful logo for me, which is the letter D with a shadow behind the D, but then the D has got a candle flame in yellow. And I thought, wow,
I'm hoping you've got one here, because
yes,
we're going to take a photo of it. We're going to put a picture of it out so that we can actually see what you're talking about.
Yes.
So you didn't set out with the idea of starting a business, and then it sort of transformed.
Gradually,
It sort of evolved. At what point did you start putting into place some of the structure that you need for a business? I'm not talking about business plans. I'm talking about insurance, certifications, because I do see quite a lot of people who start making candles, face creams and soaps
without insurance.
Without any insurance. They haven't considered what they're putting into them. They don't have the relevant certifications or exemptions. They just start up. And then they want to come along to events,
and they haven't,
or they want to sell them online, and there's just stuff you have to go through. So, at what point did you start considering that, and what did you need to get in place?
Well, obviously, you do need insurance, so you need public and product liability insurance. So my husband sorted that out for me, and it wasn't really that expensive for the year. So I'm fully insured, because I thought, well, once I've started to sell candles, I do need to cover myself. So I was really conscious of that, and wanted to get that in place. So I've got public and product liability insurance, and I've just actually renewed it for another year. So I've got all that. What else? I know a very good friend that lives locally, so he was able to make my labels for me, my business cards, and also I have a 6-foot banner which I take with me, and it's got my candle logo on the banner. So I used my friend to do all of this for me. So it all seems to be coming together. And then I sort of focus on my packaging, the boxes that I want to have my candles in. So, again, it's ordering a small batch and seeing what works for you. So, I like to know that my product looks good. It is eye-catching. I've got yellow gift bags now. I've been sort of chopping and changing the colours, but I think I'm actually there. And it all has just come together really nicely.
I think you touched on something there, which you said you sort of trying it out, is that you didn't go and buy 25,000 things all in one go. You got a small number of things, which meant you probably paid more per item because you weren't buying them in huge amounts of bulk, but you got them and you tried them out and you saw what worked, and you did a bit of juggling and you did a bit of product testing as well. Because sending stuff out to people, giving stuff to people is product testing, isn't it? You're testing whether it works or not.
Yes, so and my candle jars, I thought about the colours that I want to use. I will sit at home of an evening and just an idea will come to me and I will just think, my gosh, I'll try that. So, yes, it's all about trial and error. And it has come. It's worked. So now that you've gone beyond the friends and family, with sort of giving stuff away, what are you doing to market your products, and what are you doing to sell them? I have got a little shop on Etsy, so I'm on Etsy, and I try to at least book some fairs. I think I've booked quite a few of the fairs.
Yes.
With you, Sean, I've got coming up. So I think it's nice to be out there and be in front of the customer so the customer can see who's actually made the product. It's really nice to sort of be there and
it makes it different, and it means that you can also talk about it. And I'm going to hope, and it may not be the case, that you see going to events, depending on the type of event, but that you see going to events as part of your marketing and not part of your sales, that it's about meeting people. And I think this is sort of quite good advice anyway, is that you need to look at the type of events that you're going to. If you're spending an awful lot of money and going to an event where you think there's going to be massive footfall, and so you're putting together thousands of units of product to sell, that may well be the case. There are some events where you can pay a lot of money, where it is very, where there is very high footfall, and you will go in. It's like opening up a shop and you sell everything you've got and you go away. But it's also quite high risk, because it only needs something to happen, a horrible day or something else happens, or a motorway shuts or something along those lines, and you can end up spending a lot of money and there aren't many people through the door, or there are a lot of people through the door but they don't buy your stuff. So my advice to people, if you're starting out and you're going out to events, is never spend more on exhibiting than you can afford to lose.
Yes.
So it's out the door. It's gone. That money has gone. If you're saying, okay, well, it's £1,000 to exhibit, and if I don't bring in that £1,000 back on that day, I'm in trouble. That you should not be doing that event, because there are some events where you won't actually make any sales. There are some events, exhibitions, where I would be very, very surprised if you'd make a single sale, because that's not what it's about.
I agree. Yeah.
There are other events where where perhaps it's less money to be at, you may sell nothing at all, but you may meet somebody.
Exactly.
You may meet somebody who then says, actually, I want these for my wedding, or you may meet another exhibitor and you may get a collaboration. That is part of your marketing, and you need to have somewhere to pass them over to sell. Yes. Jackie?
Just touching on people meeting, I was at an event where somebody else had candles as well, but over the other side of the room was another person who had a whole range of different products, different cards and all that sort of stuff. She approached the lady with the candles and said, I can't think, what's the word? What do you do?
White label.
White label. Can I white label your products? And that's what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
The lady with the candles, she wanted to buy her candles, but to have them under her brand, so to white label them. So that's something else that you might be useful to think about. Because I was surprised, because it wasn't a big event. It wasn't a big event, but somebody there actually made that approach, and I thought that's really interesting, because I don't see that often, but it's a really good connection to be aware of and to know.
Yes.
I see it quite a lot at my events, actually, and I encourage...
that they white label?
Not the white labelling, but that people will...
collaborate.
People will collaborate, you know. And what I normally say to people is have one good connection. You know, if you meet one person, have one conversation, or learn one thing to move your business forwards, take some photos, get some really good photos of you being out and about in the community, because what you just said, Debbie, about people want to meet the person. I think we've got... It's lovely to buy stuff online, and there's nothing wrong with buying stuff online, but I think people like to know that you exist.
It's about that relationship again,
that you're a real person, and here you were out at this event in Medway. Here's the people. Here's me here. Here's a picture of me actually out with real people. It's like social proof, isn't it? You can buy my stuff because real people out here have bought it.
People buy people.
Yeah.
It's not the product that they necessarily buy, but people buy people.
Absolutely. And we're talking about business development, so straight in, Sian had already said what you did, and I went, right, actually, this is brilliant, because do you know what? I want a white label for my product, and I want to put my butterfly on it, and I've been waiting for the right candle. So as we're prepping before the show, we have had a conversation, haven't we, about helping me with the white label, and for me, you know, having a collaboration for I need a calm candle for my clients.
Good idea.
There you go. And I think this is so important when you're starting out in business. And you're starting a business, not just over 50, but at any age, is that you look at what you're doing and where you're going and how much money you're spending. I've done it myself, actually. I am that woman who started a business, spent over £1,000 to go to an event, to exhibit. In fact, I did it twice. But the first time I did it, I really did think that I would sell websites. And I'd come away with the equivalent of that, because £1,000 isn't a lot for a website, is it? That I'd come away and I would have made those sales. And I came, okay.
Maybe not.
But I had made some really good connections. So it's not that it's not about not doing it. It's just about managing your expectations. And if I'd have needed that £1,000 to have come back to me actually on that day, to pay the mortgage or the rent or
don't risk it.
School fees or whatever it is that you needed it for,
to cover your costs.
Yeah, I would have been in trouble, because your ROI, your return on investment for events, is very often in a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can be a year down the line. So I think starting out, I just see this so often, that people think I've paid money for an exhibition space and this is going to happen.
No.
And it's just not. And I also liked what you were saying about I got this, you know, I got some, the pots to put the wax in. I tried this wax, I tried that. I got different bags, I got different boxes, and just experimenting. And that when you're starting out, and when you're starting out and you're still at that stage and you've got a product, actually, even if you've got a service, I think it takes a while to sort of, like years actually,
on 3 years. You've got to learn.
I think
Yeah.
it takes a long time to work out what it is you're offering and what the benefits are to people. And I think there's a process that you need to go through. And that if you go out to your very first event and go, well, I've nailed it, $2,000 exhibition, you may get there and think, actually, I don't know what I'm doing. And you don't realise that until you've gone further down the process.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And yes, you do need to be out there meeting people. I think it's really good.
And I think you're the perfect person to advise about this, because you didn't sit there and go, hey, I'm going to start a business. You started doing something that you enjoyed doing, and then you saw an opportunity to evolve this into a business. And I'm sort of prepared to bet that there were things that you had to learn along the way that perhaps you hadn't thought about at the start. So I'm not going to ask you about those now. What I thought we could do, I'll just let that sort of fester for a bit. What I thought we could do is do a little bit of brainstorming about some of the general concepts around starting a business over 50. So what are some of the advantages of starting a business at this point in your life? Anybody?
I think if you've got a family, your children are older, so you're not coping with little ones toing and froing from nursery school, maybe playgroups or whatever. So you know, if that is the case and you have a family, I think that can make it a little easier. You can call on, as Debbie has highlighted, you can call on immediate members of the family who have specialist gifts.
You can make your children work for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also very rewarding. It really is. It's rewarding. I mean, my boys, I've got one age 19, one age 13, and they say to me, Mum, I'm really proud of you. And I get the feedback from them. I get feedback.
Sorry, if any said that to me, I think there was something wrong.
But I think you know, don't you? Not necessarily that they have to say it, but you know that they know in that way. So it's nice.
So we, in theory, don't have the pressures of children. I think, but we have to. I think you have to gauge it, don't you, in between the children and the grandchildren.
Yes, there is that.
You need to get that business in place before the grandchildren.
I agree. My daughter's had her warning. I'm not ready yet.
So, any other advantages?
She's been told.
Any other advantages starting a business over 50?
So for me, I think it was, but that's because of my background of 32 years in corporate. There was a lot of transferable skills that I was able to transfer from that, what I was doing there, to setting up my own business. There was those transferable skills. And I needed those transferable skills because there was also some skills that within the role I had, other people did for me. Other people did marketing, other people did sales, other people did social media. So for me, having those transferable skills made me feel like I wasn't rubbish at everything on day one, and that I had those. And it gave me then the time, because I had transferable skills like the numbers. For me, I had to learn how to network, which I've done in corporate. It's different business, but also things like the marketing, the social media. I used to have a team who did that for me, so I had to learn that. So having those transferable skills just gave me some confidence in that, why I learned something else.
I think we've learnt what we like and what we don't like, although we might need to spend some time by ourselves, with ourselves, thinking, actually sort of teasing that out, going, actually, what is it I don't like? What didn't... Because we have experiences. That's the advantage, isn't it? Is that we've got experiences. And so we can say, actually, I just don't... I'm no good at that, and I don't enjoy doing it. And so you're in a position, I think, to pick and choose what you do. Anybody else got any?
I think that word experience actually is invaluable. I think it is that. It's not necessarily... I think you're right about the transferable skills, because obviously the IT side was useful for me. But I think also worldly experiences, if you like, and people types of experiences are useful as well.
For me, I prefer to work for myself, and the you then have the choice of flexibility.
Yep.
I think also you reach a sort of certain age where, how do I say this, where like you just ain't taking no more shit.
We talked about that on doing your own thing, didn't we? Yeah.
And
agree.
you're sort of okay to go, I tell you what, you want to do that, that's not really fine, sweetheart. Dumpling, you trot off and do that. Me, I'm not. Me, I'm doing this. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we have
With time.
This doesn't apply to everybody, and I think that there are some people who may have I'm going to say been oppressed, but they may have woken up and said, I'm going to start my own business, and they may not have got the, what should we call it, the gumption, the balls, the confidence and the power to do that, but they're on their way. But for me, I found that that wasn't actually an issue. I was quite no, I don't want to do that, thank you. You do that, that's your thing. Me, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I think
I
at a certain age we get to be
Yes.
okay with saying that and doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in an unconscious age way, not necessarily, like I'm over 50, so therefore I can type of thing.
Yeah. Although I would employ that one as well, I think, if I had to.
But, and I'm going to bring a bit of science in there because I do. But there is a shift, and because I do it for a living, this is what I do. There is a shift in our hormones, and there is a change. So when they settle, and they do eventually, there is life after the M word. That's when I see women go, actually, I'm not putting up with this anymore because you've dealt with all of this process of menopause. I'm not going to do that anymore. There is that power in that hormones, and there is that reason why they're out. I was just Googling before we came on, the number of startups over 50 are rising. And also, and again, where perhaps you, like myself, I've had to manage my career around my family. So it sort of coasted, but I progressed. Then all of a sudden, I don't have to worry about that. I'm going, actually, I want to speed up now, and I don't want to retire, and I want to do things. I want to do my own thing. I'm not going to dance to the ballroom. I'm going to do my own thing. And then that's when you do have your support of your family at the start, and then when they go, she's going to keep going, oh my god, she's actually got a business, then you might get a bit of, actually I thought this was going to fail, and so then you got to keep on doing your own thing. So I think that shifts as well over 50. They think it's a phase sometimes, but actually it's not. It's what I'm going to do. So sometimes women get that feedback.
I think that sort of being able to resist bullying and passive aggressive stuff, it's not anything that I have experienced, but I have worked with more than enough women who have dealt with passive aggressive, very quiet, manipulative resistance by spouses and children,
and friends.
Actually, and friends, yes.
Yeah, friends are a tough one.
Where you're stepping out of the box that they've put you into.
Yep.
You're in the mum box, the wife box, the partner box, the
Friend always there box.
The I'm not going to say ugly friend, but if you're in that ugly friend box where you always look worse, you do worse, you are worse than somebody else, and they're using you as an example of bouncing off. I said this sounds quite horrible, doesn't it? But it's true. And suddenly you
flower
change. You start getting independent. You start getting perhaps more money. You start saying, hang on, big word. You stop saying no. You start saying no. You may go out and get some new clothes. You may get your hair done, your nails done, and suddenly you're not the ugly friend. You're not the fat ugly friend anymore, are you?
No, and they don't like it.
They don't. And the passive aggressive stuff that I've seen is just little. Can we bring the G word in, like the guilt word? Oh no, I didn't have any dinner. I went without. I wasn't quite sure what to cook.
Fine.
Funnily enough, I had that yesterday.
I couldn't.
My word is and.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything. So no, I had to go without. Okay. Really hungry. So I've never dealt with this actually. And I'm not quite sure what I do. I think I'm trying to go, oh dear. Oh dear. Oh.
Have you broken your arm?
Yes. Better sort something out for tomorrow then, hadn't you? But I think I think we are more open. I think we're more aware of that, and parents as well. Yeah. You know, parents, aging parents, looking after them, what's going to happen, constant phone calls. Yeah. I tell you what, there is so much I see going on, and it is really hard to actually say, or think in your head, actually, if you could have rung me, you could have rung the hospital. Sorry. I am horrible, aren't I? But anything could have happened to me. I could have been, I could have, whatever. I could have needed to have gone to the hospital. Then you could have phoned the ambulance. And sometimes, I think you have to be old enough and wise enough to realise genuine need and manipulation. And I think that's what we get when we're over 50.
And fear.
We get fear?
No, not us.
Them.
Elderly parents.
Yes. Yeah, listen, I'm an elderly parent, all right? I'm an elderly parent. I'm entitled. I sort of know what this feels like. Yeah. But I can't solve anybody's problems. Nobody here can make anybody else feel better. No. And I think we understand that once we reach a certain age. Actually, we have to support, but not give up everything that we've got. Yeah. I can't just leave everything behind and come and look after you.
That's just reminded me of a conversation I had with somebody talking about outsourcing things. So she needed to outsource her parents.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
But it was actually a sibling saying, will you live closer? She said, well, because you're 100 miles away, so actually you're phoning me to tell me to go round to sort out parents' dinners. So actually then I just become like a cook. Why don't we club together, get their meals sent, and then when I go there, it's quality time. She's like, well, can't you just do it? She said, no. And then I said to this woman, how much do you earn per hour? And how much would it, let's work that through. And she, but what will people think? I went, and? Sometimes you can outsource the ironing these things and have that conversation.
But how much better that relationship with your parents
will become? Well, potentially. Yeah, potentially. If there's a lot of controlling guilt in there, then actually, no, it isn't going to be better, isn't it? Because now they've been spotted, haven't they? It's not about, actually, I physically can't cook my dinner anymore. It's about, I want to control you. I want you to come round and cook my dinner.
I had a situation which I didn't know about until I lost my parents. And we didn't live very far, so I actually was down there quite regularly. And my dad had the asthma sprays for his chest, and I thought at one time, he seems to be getting through these in terms of prescription quite regularly. And when they'd gone and we were sorting the flat out and everything, he had this huge box of sprays that he wasn't using, but it was a reason to phone me and say, can you get that prescription sorted for me?
Oh, wow.
And it was awful.
But it's manipulative guilt, isn't it?
It is, but I thought it was a need for me to go round there, and they wanted an extra because they weren't able to go out,
and then they could have asked. So actually, can I? Anyway, look, I'm allowing this to go.
Counselling session.
Yeah, we're going down into caring for people. Okay, so advantages is we're more able to, even though we may have to learn, we're more able to say
it's that word again,
no.
Isn't it? Flexibility.
So, what are the disadvantages? Are there any disadvantages to starting up over 50?
Our health.
Okay. I think that could be an issue at any time.
Any time, yeah.
But yeah, okay. I actually, and I think it's quite interesting that we're fishing around for disadvantages.
My disadvantage was potentially funding. That's for all women in general get less funding than men if you go out for grants and bids. So that's. I can't see anything specifically around age.
But potentially managing your idea about your own limitations, maybe. Mm-hmm. So although you're saying about health, it could be, I'm not able to do that. I don't feel able to. I'm not going to be able to keep going. I'm not going to have the energy. Have you come up with something?
No. The only thing, again, over 50 and above, sometimes there's that scarcity of you know, I'm not as young as I was, and sometimes then you create a sense of urgency. When actually, I've said to people, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, don't just
get
because
on
you're
with
over
it.
50,
I've only got 10 years to do this.
Yeah. Or you know, from that, so that could be that disadvantage,
Yes, yeah.
and also sometimes women. When I'm talking to women, we're in this gap period. You know, we talked about the gap between the children and the grandchildren. We talk about walking away from a career, but not close enough for maybe, if we've got one, a pension. So it's this gapping of what are we doing? And sometimes that urgency is, I need to find some income because this isn't going to come through yet. So we're in this sort, and I say, no, don't think about that. Just think about it as fluidity, or like set a target that I'm going to create my business, so I don't need it, you know, or don't, you know, I can choose. So for me, sometimes it's that life point of children and grandchildren, and how many years have I got between my pension, and then how many years have I got? But don't think about the
you'd
debt
never get
amount.
anything done.
You
would
wouldn't.
you?
Just
You just
go
wouldn't.
with it, and don't worry about age. I just say to women, just take the age out of it.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think
No, I
that's
agree.
easy to do, but
No.
yes. So
Psychologically, you need to focus on that, and you can't. If you keep thinking, oh well, tomorrow this might happen, you just got to go on with it.
it's the power of now again. It's about actually looking at what's going on now. So what is there to learn? What can we advise people who are, let's say they haven't done it yet, let's say they're thinking of starting a business? What advice have we got for people?
Well, to think about things. The practical things are: do you want to continue? Do you want to be a sole trader? Do you want to be a limited company? Have you got your domain name yet? Have you got a website? Have you got ideas like that? Do you need insurances?
What do you need to do legally? Do you need licenses?
The practical sides of things.
And also for me, we talk about the type of business in terms of PLC or CIC, etc. But is it? I'm still trying to find a better word for this, like a lifestyle business versus, because be careful what you be careful what you wish for, because you say I want to do this and I want to get to these figures, but you don't get to 6 or 7 figures of a business without a load of risks and issues and staffing issues and stuff like that. So you got to say what do you want, and how and I do think that comes back to your numbers. What do you need to live on? What do you want to do, and then how do you structure yourself? So I think to myself, I say to women, what type of business? I've got a PLC. No, it's not what I mean. Have you done your numbers? What do you need to earn? And do you, if you want a 7-figure business, you're going to get 7 figures worth of problems. So just be warned, that's all.
So it's about, so for me, a lifestyle business is one where you earn money, you're self-employed, you earn money that pays yourself a salary, and then when you stop working, it ends.
Yep.
End of story. Whereas a business is where you have other people doing stuff for you, so that you can either sell that business or stop working in it every single day, take on more of a strategic role, but you have other people doing the do.
That's what I was trying to explain. Yep.
That's why I'm here.
I know you are. That's perfect.
You did explain it.
So
I totally understood.
No, I'm just clarifying it, I think, for people who perhaps are not already in business, that are listening in. So it's about what you want the business to do for you. And one of the things, I think, if you're currently working, I think there are 2 different things. I think if you're currently working in a business, so let's say you're a plumber, and that you're thinking, and you're employed by somebody else, and you're thinking, do you know, I could do this myself. I'm going to go out and do this myself. I think the key thing is that you're probably going to spend about 1/3 of your time plumbing, if you love plumbing, and the rest of your time, 1/3 of it marketing, and then the other 1/3 of it doing the rest of the admin and doing the stuff. And you haven't even got any clients yet, so you haven't done anything. So is that if you love plumbing, that when you start your business, become self-employed, you're going to spend a lot less time plumbing than you're actually doing now. There's that book, is it The E-Myth? The E-Myth and the E-Myth Revisited, which is exactly about that. It's about what can happen when you go from being employed to doing the same thing when you're being self-employed. I would get that and read that.
And I think also sometimes I come across people who say, like, they're going to get their own business, they're going to run their own business, and you sort of, in the conversation, you then find out that they've been thinking about this for about 3 years. Well, if they've been thinking about it for 3 years, it ain't going to happen, COVID or not. It depends if they've got a target, and at that 3 years that, you know, something outstanding is going to happen, and that's what they're actually going to then launch, I think that's different. But if you've got people who've been thinking for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, it ain't going to happen.
And in fact, I'm going to take it one step further than that. I think if you really have been thinking about starting a business and you are still employed, and you don't make a plan to start that business, you don't make a decision to either start it or not start it, or make a plan as to when you're going to start it, you will manifest by your own actions being out of that job. If you are not very, very careful. We always get what we want. We always get what we want. We just don't always get it in the way that we wanted it, wrapped up in a great big bow. And I think if somebody is in a job at the moment and they're thinking about starting a business, and I'm thinking of making that transition, and they're not able to wait until perhaps retirement kicks in, that they do put a plan in place, because you can sort of run the two together, can't you? And then there's a tipping point, isn't it?
It's a good cushion to start.
Yeah, there's a tipping point of when potentially you're earning enough in your in your business to give up your job, to be able to give up your job. And this is a really difficult one, and I don't know if anybody's got a take on this. But what do you do if you're holding on for a pension? And you've got 7 years to go, and you're holding on for a pension, and in the meantime your life is almost on hold because you've put this much in, and now another 7 years and I'm going to get this lovely lump sum and a pension. I've got to keep going and keep going and going. And it's the other thing, you could be hit by a bus tomorrow, couldn't you? I don't know that there's an answer to that, but I do see it quite a lot actually. I can't do it now, I can do it in 7 years time when I've got my pension.
The take on that I got is, I said, I'm going to set my own business. Oh, well, don't. You people around me were saying, wait. So do you know what I did? I resigned. Because then I had some skin in the game. And that's what I did. I resigned. And everybody said to me, oh, you should have done that. You should have waited for your pension.
Now, folks, okay, this is, I'm going to do this. You must seek your own medical advice.
I did. I had a plan. I did have a plan.
We are not telling you to go and give up your job and throw in your pension or any investments. That is your decision to make.
Absolutely. I'd spent a year getting my plan together, my business plan and my website. So when people say, oh my God, you did that really quickly, I didn't.
No,
it was
but
it was a plan. I had an exit plan. That was the difference.
But that's the thing. Some people who are perceived to be an overnight success
are not
because they've been doing exactly what you did very sensibly.
I just didn't tell anyone.
I was an overnight success in 10 years. So
I just didn't tell no one.
Let's have a quick round the table. We've only got a few minutes left, like a couple of minutes. So, starting your own business, Adelle, what do you know now that you wish you'd have known when you started out?
I should have done more client research. I should have spent more time with people before I developed the product.
Jackie, same question. What do you know now that you wish you'd have known when you started out?
That investing actual money in it would have been useful and practical.
Debbie, what do you know now that you wish you'd have known when you started out?
You're not there. You're not quite there yet, are you?
Perhaps you're not quite there. We've got another quick round the table. What's your top tip for being in business?
Know your numbers.
Yeah. Jackie?
I second that, but also to connections.
Debbie?
Marketing and promoting the products.
Okay. I have one as well, which is this. It takes 10 times longer than you think it's going to.
True. It doesn't happen overnight. So.
When you see it happening overnight, as Jackie said, they've been doing it a long time. Do not give up. Adapt, but don't give up. Yeah. It takes a lot longer than you think it's going to.
Yeah. Be flexible. Don't be hardcore about everything.
Okay, thank you, folks. I think that's been a really, really good show. Let's say goodbye to Adelle Martin, to Jackie Groundsell and Debbie. Debbie, very, very quickly, how can people get hold of you?
07492 735 223. That's my number. I'm also on Etsy, DLS Candles. And I'm also on Instagram, Debbie Lloyd Smith Candles.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, folks. And if you are over 50 and you're thinking of starting a business, well, I'll tell you what, get going.
Just do it.
Get going.
Yeah,
okay, we will see you soon. We will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Tune in next week to the Women in Business radio show for more stories, ideas, and inspiration to help you grow your business.